Hello. I've not been able to get the chat open yet. I don't know why, but the YouTube chat for me is just always broken um in this browser. I might need to switch to a different one.
Okay, I don't know why, but the transition didn't work in OBS. That was awesome. So you heard Corbin talking and not me. Anyway,
That's the way it should be, am I right? Ayo.
April 1st curse is upon us. I hate April 1st. I've always hated April 1st. April Fool's Day's dumb. But yeah, here we go with OBS playing its own joke on me. Anyway, so yeah. Hi, how's everyone doing? It is April 1st. This is the RambleCast. I'm your host, Cody Toombs, and yes, we do in fact have a Corbin Davenport here. God,
Hello.
I hate this. Anyway, how's everyone doing? Carson, Austin, good to see both of you here.
How about that rocket launch, folks?
Yeah, that did in fact happen, and it seems to be successful. Um, it is in the space.
Mm-hmm. Space between spaces.
Spacey. So yeah, that good times. There were no obvious failures or explosions. It looks like it all went well. Are we sure this is the RambleCast? I literally made the joke at the start that that this was CNN. And then you didn't hear any of that. Yeah. So anyway,
Well, speaking of jokes,
mhm.
there is a older report now, but I know Cody was out last week, and I was also out last week, but that part was anticipated. So there was an earlier report from March 20th from Reuters that claiming that Amazon is working on a smartphone again. They're going to try that again. So
Yes, because the first time didn't go badly enough.
yeah, some of you may recall Amazon tried to make a phone, the Fire phone, in 2014, which I should do a Tech Tales about at some point. I don't know if that's in my list, but I don't actually remember much about it, so it would be fun to research. But the phone did not go well, and there was not a sequel or follow up. And Amazon, after that point, did try a few other related things. Obviously, they kept the Fire tablets going, which predated the phone. And they also, I remember they were doing those like Alexa edition phones on Amazon for a while, which were like the unlocked Android phones with extra Amazon bloatware and like ads on the lock screens and stuff. But they didn't try a phone again. But according to Reuters, they said the latest effort, known internally as Transformer, is being developed within its devices and services unit, according to 4 people familiar with the matter. The phone is seen as a potential mobile personalization device that can sync with Alexa and serve as a conduit to Amazon customers throughout the day. So basically, like, really hoping that this getting people an Amazon phone will make them more likely to buy more things from Amazon, basically.
Well, not just buy, but to use Amazon services.
Yeah. Which
Except
is also how like every phone works now too. Like this is Apple, same logic. Like, great, we got these suckers to buy the new iPhone. Now we're gonna make them pay for iCloud for life. You know, so they're all like this now. But Amazon is not particularly well known for its robust software, let's say.
Well, and what's really confusing about this,
or good hardware.
yeah,
Like, you know, maybe like the Fire TV Cube, I think was like somewhat well built. Everything else is very low end and bad.
To be fair, some of their Alexa devices were actually pretty good too. Like, not great or
I
anything,
did
but they
have
made some
the
good speakers.
yeah, I did have, I mean, I still have it. I had the Echo Dot with clock, which was kind of neat. The sound quality wasn't like super amazing, but I did like that it was just an orb with like a little digital invisible clock on the front. That was neat.
Um, yeah, so where things get really confusing here is that this isn't apparently this isn't really your conventional smartphone. It will be a smartphone in the sense of it's obviously going to use some sort of effectively smartphone OS. It is going to have apps, but it sounds like there's going to be no store. It sounds like this is sort of like a feature phone in function and intent, but it will have those Amazon services equipped. So it's basically kind of like somewhere between feature phone and smartphone. But it's, I find myself asking why. Who's going to want this? And yes, I do know there are some people out there that are sort of the anti-smartphone crowd. Um, I'm not going to call them Luddites or anything, but basically they want something that doesn't have a lot of the features so that they won't feel compelled to sit and doom scroll on Twitter or to sit there and argue with their family about politics on Facebook. I get that, but those things were already possible if you just uninstall the apps. It's a little known secret. I think a lot of people have forgotten. But the one thing that they're leaving in, again, as just mentioned, it's all the Amazon stuff. And I find myself thinking, who wants this? I can't picture that crowd that's saying, I want to pay just as much for a phone, but I want it to only have Amazon stuff and nothing else, when I could just go get a regular phone and just put on the Amazon stuff and nothing else. Like, where does that argument come in? And I suppose the question obviously could come down to, how much will this cost? Obviously, Amazon doesn't even know that yet. Or at least this report doesn't presume any sort of cost for the phone. I can't help but imagine that this would probably be something they'd offer to like Prime customers or some group of people that would be likely buyers. And I think that they would have to subsidize it down to almost nothing to get people to want to buy it. But I mean, is that, even then, is that really interesting? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I
there's
can't
not
picture this.
really, yeah, there's not really enough of a picture yet. Like, if it's supposed to be some kind of more minimalist device, then I also don't know what that means, because that's the entire spectrum between like feature phone and normal Android phone, but it has an e-ink screen. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Um
Uh, Austin said, "Okay, Trump phone or Bezos phone? You can only have one, and you can't use any other phone for 2 years." I mean, I don't know what the Bezos phone will look like, and I'm gonna still pick it.
I was gonna say, no questions
Um,
asked, I will pick that in a heartbeat.
yeah,
Because if I recall correctly, okay, so this isn't in the topic list, but I'm just gonna quickly mention it because it's relevant here. For anyone that didn't hear, the new White House app is actually reporting the position of all of its users every 4.5 minutes, like the actual your GPS coordinates. Um,
your assassination coordinates, as Elon Musk would say.
yes, uh, and I don't think it even knows who its users are. So why is it reporting their position? Anyway, um, so here's the thing: the Trump phone, if anyone thinks that one's not stealing as much data as possible and reporting it back to a not particularly trustworthy government, or worse, um, Yeah, I'm just gonna say I don't want that one. Also, I don't really want to give him money more than I don't want to give Bezos money. Like of the
I
two,
mean, I'm just expecting that the Bezos phone will be closer to a functioning product,
there's that too.
whereas the
Though,
Trump phone,
mm,
it's very clear, is just a uh, uh I don't know what the word for it is, but like it's just a thing that Trump wants with his name on it, and that's sort of the beginning and end of the goals. So,
that's true,
I
but they did just rebrand a phone. It was technically a functioning product that they just slapped a
right,
name on,
right.
and I'm sure
But all the
installed
all
some
the all the
some
all the
spyware.
customizations could be things that make it worse.
Um,
Um,
but
yeah,
then the counterpoint is the Bezos phone is gonna be very certainly garbage, like usability. It will be a bad product. It will be a barely functioning product. That's what we saw with the Fire Phone. That's what we've seen with lots of other Amazon products in the last several years. I I don't know. I think if you're asking specifically for a functional product, sadly the Trump phone is probably going to be better just because they're rebranding an existing product. But again, like I trust that one less, not by much. Um and I'd rather, like, if I had to give money to either of them, it's going to Bezos. And at least with the Bezos one, you presumably will get some sort of Prime benefits, or you'll benefit from having Prime or something. Look, at least with that one, I could theoretically, I guess, watch that bad Lord of the Rings spinoff that they paid way too much money for.
and watch The Boys, which I thought was over already, but apparently still has one more season.
I think
Um,
everyone's thought the boys was going to be over for like the last 6 years.
I'm certainly over it already, so I don't need to go back. But
I've actually never watched it. I want to someday, but I'm not that
it
ambitious about it.
yeah, it got kind of weird for me. I do still like Invincible though.
You're mad it got woke,
Like more of
aren't
it.
you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But as far as like older Amazon stuff, well, not older, but like I do still really like the Man in the High Castle Amazon series. That was good. I did like there was one other thing that they produced that I remember liking. I don't remember what it was. Um, and then the Fallout show was okay. I've not seen season 2 yet because I don't care that much, but it was okay.
Um, I definitely liked season one more, but season two wasn't bad. Um, yeah, still a good show. Yeah, not much more to say than that. It's fine. I am hoping season three does a little bit more to kind of like recenter on a story, though.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah. So overall, I don't know. I just the other gimmick, of course, is Amazon's also going to be pushing harder into AI stuff, and this product will somehow supposedly be a extension of that. So Alexa, but AI powered, I guess, is their goal, and that also sounds horrendous. I can't picture that being
I'm
good because it doesn't seem like
I'm
Amazon's AI stuff is really working out that well for them. Remember, Amazon's AI stuff is the reason why there have been 2 AWS outages in like the last 2 months.
well, we don't know if that was because of Amazon's AI specifically.
No, it
Those are
was.
just
At
Amazon's
at least
engineers using AI.
no, one of those they specifically confirmed that it was their own AI coding assistant that
Okay.
produced the bad thing, but they then proceeded to um, blame a human engineer for authorizing or approving the change and that's where the mistake was. So they're still blaming human error,
Right.
even though it's confirmed it was our coding assistant that did the actual error. Um, which is funny.
Yeah, I mean, now their stuff is just it's just the same as like Gemini and Copilot and stuff. You can go to the Alexa site and talk to it like a chatbot. So I'm sure it's going to be just as dumb as Gemini and everyone else.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a phone that's coming out. We don't know much more, but not optimistic. I guess the I don't know. Did you mention that the Microsoft guy is behind this? Panos
Uh,
Panay.
I forgot about that part, but I
Yeah,
do vaguely remember it.
it is mentioned down here that he's
Panos
working on
Panay.
this along with a new tablet that's supposedly going to have normal Android instead of Fire OS. Um, so presumably, I guess if this is like kind of a normal phone, we don't know if that's true or not because it's of the minimal phone being an inspiration. But like if it's a kind of normal phone, it should just have like Google Play services, hopefully. Um, so no weird missing apps because Amazon's app store has always been weird and incomplete.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, now that Amazon doesn't have its own app store, uh, they would need to pick some app store to use from, and the only way I see them not going with Google Play is if like Epic or somebody like that pops up and really does a big hard push to be like,
Well,
hey, we want everyone to come over here too. And
yeah,
maybe
I
that
mean
happens, maybe it doesn't.
they still have their own app store. It's just not a thing you can install separately anymore. It's only on their
Well, and you can't,
existing devices.
unless I'm mistaken, there's no new stuff being published. Like they're not allowing new publishers. I think it's just some updates, right?
I don't
I'm
know
pretty sure they
because
were fully decommissioning the App Store, and it was just like in wind down phase.
I mean the Fire tablets and Fire TV are still using that app store, so it'd be weird if they completely closed it off to new developers. I do know that one of the newest sticks they made is the one that runs their new operating system that has like a different software platform, and it would not use the Android apps in their store. But yeah, okay. Watch was buzzing.
Huh. Yeah, I might look into that again later because I swear they were fully decommissioning it, at least for the Android stuff. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
they shut it down for like the version you could download and install and whatever, which I used a couple times on like weird Android devices where getting Google services working was too annoying. I had it on my Quest 3 because it was easier to get some apps through there. Because I don't know if you can really get Google Play services to function at all, except there's a whatever third party front end exists.
Yeah, I also
Uh,
briefly used it because they had various deals or like free credit for buying apps and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, sure, I'll install it, get whatever game, play it for a month, and then uninstall all of it, that kind of thing. But yeah, I didn't really use it too much. It was so janky and poorly built. It was really such an unpleasant app to use. Their app store itself, I mean. Um, so yeah. But man, I kind of don't see why Amazon is trying to do this unless the whole goal is to try to turn this into another vehicle for their AI. If that is the goal, okay, go ahead, try it. I don't think anyone's going to buy into it, but that's interesting. Um, if it's anything else, if they think there's any chance that they get back into the market of like making phones, uh, they're insane. Look, that market's owned. It's over. The fight is done. It's Samsung, Google, Apple, arguably, I guess one or not OnePlus. They're probably toast, but a few Chinese brands that may or may not really come back to the US. We'll see. And it, was there even anyone left? I guess technically Sony, kind of. Like that's it. We're basically just down to the phone manufacturers that everybody knows.
I mean, now is the time for Barnes and Noble to introduce the Nook phone, and I eagerly await it.
The Fook.
No,
Yes.
no, we'll keep working on that.
It will be the Fook. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, enough
So
enough of
yeah,
that.
next. Speaking of annoying bad decisions,
Here's
I
something
guess.
Corbin wrote. Sorry,
Yeah.
you set me up.
Ooh, damn. Yeah, roasted. So a fun thing happened where GitHub announced some changes to its policies in that if you use GitHub Copilot, anything you type in or use with it will be used as training data for GitHub Copilot and presumably Microsoft's AI models in general. It's not really clear because I believe all this stuff is powered by like either Microsoft's models or GPT models from OpenAI. So I'm not really sure, but GitHub Copilot is the thing that like is everywhere on the GitHub website for like code suggestions and stuff. If you've used Visual Studio Code, it's the thing that's like in the sidebar. You can ask questions and have like code complete and stuff. And there's also, I know there's a command line app that works like Claude Code. I've not used any of that, but if you interact with any of that at all, whatever you put into it will be used to train the AI. And they said they're doing this because they started doing it with Microsoft employees and the results were pretty good. So they're like, why don't we treat everyone as input for this and it'll get better. And it's not like super surprising or interesting that like AI products are taking all of the input as additional training data. A lot of them do that. ChatGPT and Copilot and everyone else. The part that's like the two things that are a little bit bizarre here is number one, they're doing this like by default. So you have to opt out. And if you want to opt out, I'll put the link in the YouTube chat. It's just you go to the Copilot features page on your GitHub account and you set the drop-down menu for allow GitHub to use my data to disabled. And you have to do that for all your, if you have multiple GitHub accounts, do that for each one. But it's a little bit weird to do this for everyone. And the second one is they're doing this even for paying accounts. This isn't just like the free GitHub Copilot stuff. This is also if you pay for GitHub Copilot and you don't opt out, you will also be used for training material, which is something that not every AI service does. Usually the paid ones don't do that. And it's all over the place, but usually not. The only exception is if you are using Copilot through like enterprise or workplace accounts, it will not use that for training data because that would be a big no for like every company's legal team, and they would immediately drop this. But you as an individual don't have rights, so it's okay. Carson, I don't care if my code's used for model training. Yeah, I mean, not everyone does, especially because GitHub Copilot, the privacy implications of this are a little bit different than like people using Gemini or Copilot for like therapy and that kind of stuff. Like the sensitive data you might feed into this would be like API keys that maybe get leaked somewhere, but that's nothing like on the levels of how some other people use other AI tools. So, and also this being different from the general act of Microsoft and other companies harvesting as much of public GitHub as possible to use as AI training data. That's a completely separate thing that everyone has already done. So that, genie's not going back in that bottle.
No.
But if you don't like that, you can opt out. And I opted out because I'd like to at least be paid a little bit of money if they want to use me for training.
That's exactly
Even
my
though
position on it.
I have absolutely been a freeloader on their services and GitHub Actions, and I will continue to do so.
Um
I mean,
yeah, my basic position is, hey, if you want to use our code, you should be paying us. You are licensing and then trying to charge everybody else to have access to what was effectively our code. I'm sorry. I'm a in a capitalist society. Pay your licensing fees. That's it. There you go. That's the position. Pay your licensing fees. You you bastards.
yeah. So that was that. You can opt out if you want. Link is in the chat.
Yeah. So cool. That's a thing. It is a little cringy that they're doing the whole you've got to opt out kind of routine. And where I kind of take specific issue with that is they take the data right away, then put the feature out there. They've already trained their model on whatever they've taken from you and whatever they will continue to take from you. And it's only someday in the future that they retrain a new model that they'll be like, oh, I guess we're not allowed to use this data anymore. But they will have already been using it, so it will largely be irrelevant. So the opt-out probably doesn't matter. Okay, so GitHub curing cancer one founder at a time. So let's see, do we want to stay on this, or do we have anything else on this?
There was a good joke I should have wrote down, but I'll put this in the YouTube chat as well for credit. But I saw someone I follow on Mastodon, Sam Henry Gold, said GitHub is down constantly because every time someone mentions uptime to their infrastructure engineer, they respond, "Not much. What's uptime with you?" and spends the rest of the day high-fiving everyone.
Bad, but accurate.
It gave me a hearty chuckle. So shifting topics, I don't have like a ton to say about this. It's just kind of interesting. Is LibreOffice, the open source Office suite, is kind of imploding right now. I've like vaguely been following this. There's been some ongoing drama between the Document Foundation, which is the foundation that owns LibreOffice, and Collabora, which is a company that contributes a lot to to LibreOffice and also makes enterprise products based on it. So they have like a enterprise supported version of LibreOffice that companies can use if they, want like a real replacement for Microsoft 365. And they also have a like web version, like web office apps that uses a lot of LibreOffice components. So they're both in theory supposed to be working together, but there's been a lot of like personal beefs going on that I don't have the full context for. So I won't, say too much about that. But it escalated with LibreOffice saying it would reboot development on a web-based version of LibreOffice, which is something that Collabora makes as a paid product, like an enterprise product. So conflicting things there. And I think that had like bits of code that Collabora made it initially. So there was like a lot of messy stuff there. And then it further escalated up to today, where Collabora wrote a blog post saying that the Document Foundation has decided to eject all Collabora staff from membership of the foundation, which is over 30 people. If you go look at all of the recent release notes for LibreOffice, they're nice enough to mention the company that the developers worked for on each change, if there is one. And Collabora comes up a lot. They were doing a lot of feature development, a lot of the like interface improvements that happen in LibreOffice, a lot of the compatibility fixes, because Microsoft Office documents are not an open standard and Microsoft fucks with it constantly. So you kind of need to stay on top of that if you want compatibility with those. And they were doing a lot of those fixes. They were doing a lot of general new features in like the word processor and spreadsheet stuff. It doesn't seem like anyone else would step up for that, at least initially. The Document Foundation has talked about like scaling up more of their own like internal developers and that kind of thing. But this was one of those situations where like it's very similar to how Code Weavers and Valve work on Wine, where they're doing a lot of work on the open source bit, and then they take that back to sell a product. And it's been this nice symbiotic relationship where it's like, if you want the open source thing, it's there. If you want like a more polished product with like support behind it, you can go to, you can use games through Steam, or you can run your apps through Crossover. And I've paid for Crossover because I appreciate that. And but now that's kind of imploded with LibreOffice, which is annoying. And the blog post from them has a lot of specific complaints that I have not caught up with, but just a lot of like very standard open source beef. They also talk about like specifically some financial stuff that's been annoying and spending money in wrong ways. And later today, the Document Foundation published their response. So like their video essay YouTuber response to the drama, and really didn't say much. They were just saying that like their main defense is like they were concerned about Collabora. If they were more involved, then it would turn then the Document Foundation could lose its status as a nonprofit. I don't know if that's true. Some general addressing of the beefs and mentioning that like the Collabora people can still contribute to LibreOffice if they want. They're just not like members of the foundation. So I if this isn't like resolved, I do think LibreOffice is probably going to go into a maintenance mode. Basically, there's going to be some improvements. They weren't doing all the work, but they were doing a lot of work. Which I've written about this a little bit over the last year or two, where this is an interesting part of like a general push away from proprietary U.S. services, because first with the war in Ukraine, and then later with the United States kind of being combative with Europe through trade policies and threatening to take Greenland and all that fun stuff. There's a growing movement in Europe for like we need our own stuff now. We can't have all of our governments and companies on Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 accounts anymore. We got to build all of our own stuff. So the move towards like LibreOffice and apps like that was this interesting little component of that larger like political movement that's been interesting to watch. But now this just imploded, which is funny because literally last week, a bunch of European companies forked OnlyOffice, which is a Russian project, to make their own like web-based office in competition, presumably with Colabora's project. So there's a lot of stuff here. This is surprisingly drama filled for news about an Office suite, but
Especially one
it's
that's been around for so long.
yeah. I made the joke um, on my Blue Sky and Mastodon. I put a caption on the scene from with the architect in the Matrix Reloaded, saying this will be the sixth time we forked Star Office and we become exceedingly efficient at it. Because this was Star Office, and then Star Office became Open Office, and then Open Office exploded because Oracle bought them and promptly killed them. And now LibreOffice, don't know what's going to happen with it, but Collabora has their own fork they're still working on. So, don't know, just kind of interesting. Obviously, would suck because LibreOffice is. I have some like annoyances with it, but generally it's nice. If I wasn't already paying for OneDrive, I would be using it whenever I needed to edit stuff.
Actually,
And
now that you're changing jobs, you're going to have to rethink some of your various subscriptions and services. You might not need some of them very much anymore.
well, I'm not really using. I'm using Excel occasionally, but not in like a super power user way. Like I could do that in Google Docs or whatever. Um, for a while, I was writing most of my articles in a very cursed setup of a Scratchpad Microsoft Word document, and then I had an Apple shortcut that ran a terminal command for Pandoc that would convert it to HTML and paste it to my clipboard, so then I could move it to the CMS. But I'm not doing that anymore because I've been using Bear Notes for the last like month, and it's pretty good. So right now, I'm not really using Microsoft Office stuff, but I go back and forth.
Um, well, I'm also thinking about your Adobe addiction.
Oh, I ended my Creative Cloud subscription a
Oh,
couple
okay.
months ago.
What'd you switch to?
Um, Pixelmator and Photomator.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I do
got
remember
them.
talking about that now. It didn't
Yeah,
stick.
yeah. I downloaded both of them. I was like, all right, I'm going to use this and see how often I have to go back to normal Photoshop or Lightroom to do something. And the answer was basically never. So I was like, okay, this is safe to cancel now. Which, like, again, it's still a little bit of a downgrade in parts, but it's the parts that like I never really used, so it's okay. And like
Yeah.
if I really need to, I can go back. I just would prefer not to.
Makes sense.
And Austin very casually bringing up the Claude leaks, which were like everyone misreported that. I don't even want to say misreported because everyone was just kind of reposting shit from Twitter where everyone just lies by default. But there was a wide conception that like all of Claude's code base leaked, but it was their source maps that leaked. So like a little part of their code base, oopsie daisy. And they've been doing DMCA claims on literally everyone who puts that anywhere, which is very funny. So, copyright rules for me, but not for thee.
Yeah.
But that's what's been going on. So
Um,
yeah, that's the LibreOffice drama. We'll see how that develops. But doesn't seem fun. I don't like uh boss infighting usually, unless there's good drama. This doesn't seem like particularly good drama though.
I'd be lying if I were to say I didn't enjoy the Matt Mullenweg
That's
drama.
that's good. Yeah, that's good. All the times like Linus Torvalds tells Nvidia to fuck off, that's good. That's a classic. Um,
It's funny because those two, in a way, are almost like they're not the same, but they're similar, except
mhm.
we take the opposite sides in both cases, or between the two
Yeah.
cases. Matt is
Both cases
definitely
are
the
telling a large company that oversteps its boundaries to cut it out.
well, except one of them is Matt, who is effectively running a large company, being a d bag to another large company. Um, Whereas then you've got Linus, who it's hard not to be on his side because he's telling Nvidia, "You guys suck."
He's generally based. I'm sure there's a few things I'm forgetting that he's been dumb about,
Git.
but like most of the time, what's his opinion on Git? What'd he do?
He created it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
No,
okay, I thought it was
he's
going to be something else. Yeah,
no, no. That is definitely his unbased position. Is he created Git and made that a thing. Um. Anyway, I know there are Git fans out there. I'm actually not against Git for its original purpose, which was supposed to actually be a lot more than just source control. It's supposed to be a lot of things, but as source control, it's not good. I'm sorry. Hot take. Anyone who wants to fight me, we can go at it. But I'm just saying, Git is bad for source control.
yeah. I never used anything else for long enough to develop a strong opinion about the alternatives. I remember using SVN a little bit when I used SourceForge, but that was like 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. And then I moved everything to GitHub. And I've only been using Git.
Um, I
And
yeah.
and I think at least one project I was doing was when I worked at Android Police, when I was doing that development. That was not GitLab. What's Atlassian's thing?
Mercurial, or well,
No,
the service was oh, are you sure it's not GitLab?
no, GitLab is the open source one. Bitbucket, yes, it
Bitbucket,
was
yeah.
Bitbucket. Thank you, Bitbucket. I believe that was using Git, so that was still Git.
Well, Bitbucket was originally built on Mercurial,
Yeah.
and then they added support for Git, and then they eventually killed the Mercurial support, or at least I think they killed it. I'm pretty sure
Mm-hmm.
I remember that being a news item a while back. Um,
Carson says Bitbucket still sucks. That's good. That's good to know. I'm shocked that an Atlassian product is bad.
okay, I'm gonna take a brief moment to quasi. I don't know that this isn't defense of Atlassian, but it kind of almost could be if you spin it right. Look, there was a point in history where they had hip chat and it was actually pretty good. I would even argue for a while it was better than Slack. The catch was it started getting super unstable. Their servers were what was failing, not HipChat itself. Um, and it was because their servers were constantly failing that Android Police eventually switched to Slack. Uh, as for Bitbucket, um, I didn't think it was ever great, but I did like it a little bit more than GitHub back at the time when the two were in like active competition. Where back when everyone was like, "Hey, which one do you want to use?" and it wasn't a foregone conclusion that people went to GitHub. Um, so Bitbucket back then was actually pretty decent. It did definitely start taking a downward turn at some point. I don't know when that was. I don't remember. It's been a long, long, long time. And I
Yeah.
think I think I still have like a couple of old projects maybe sitting there, but I should probably go make sure that they're not anymore.
Yeah, and I just remembered that Atlassian also made Trello, and I did always like Trello. It was just the pricing that's always been crazy. Because there were a couple of times where I was like, I would really like to use Trello for other things, and I was like, what would it cost for me to have my own account? Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
but I liked it when I used it at we used it at How to Geek for a while. That was what all there was there was a news Trello board, and it was pretty snazzy. Had good like email integrations and stuff. Oh, they bought Trello after it's
Yeah.
already being
Yeah,
used.
I was going to say
Okay.
Trello was not an original Atlassian creation.
Well,
Actually,
I used it.
the thing
Yeah.
is, very few things actually are. If you
Mm,
go looking through their history, most of what they've got, it was stuff they actually bought.
like Six Flags.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, same very similar situation.
Well,
Um yeah, so we kind of veered pretty starkly off of the point. Though I'm going to briefly go back very very briefly for like a quick line to respond to Hoopy's comment earlier that my comment that Git is bad is my worst take ever. I'm just going to say this. Look, if beginning Git users have to be really confused about how to do anything beyond the like basic, say, 5 or 6 commands, you have to be an intermediate user to even function with Git. And being an advanced user is this absolute massive cheat sheet of all the different things that you can do, and all it takes is a very small typo to completely bork your entire code base. Yeah, no, that's bad, dude. I'm sorry, but it's way too easy to bork an entire code base with just a little misunderstood like command. That is not good source control. If your source control requires backups just because you don't know what a command might do, that's bad source control. There you go. Anyway, moving on.
well, now I just asked the AI and it types the command for me. So
Yeah, that might
surely
actually be the only way
that
to
won't
use Git soon.
cause problems.
And Carson, yes, the only good way to use Git is to use some sort of UI that does the commands for you.
Yeah,
Um,
I could name about 3 Git commands. Um, basically everything I'm doing in the little Visual Studio Code sidebar thing, and usually the commands are just like, it's faster for me to type git pull than to find the 3 layers of menus for wherever VS Code has it.
yeah, there are a few commands that I just know automatically or know well enough.
Yeah,
But yeah, most of it, I admit, like there have been a few things that I've had to do in Git, where I've ended up spending like half hour, 45 minutes researching how to do what should be a basic thing, and I'm reading various Stack Overflow posts or trying to figure out like, all right, now if I do this, this is what the command looks like it should do. Is it for sure what it actually does or not? I can't tell. And so I spend a lot of time double checking before blowing things up. And that's not a thing that should happen. That makes you less efficient. I'm sorry, but I've never used our source control system. And bear in mind, I've actually used Visual Source Safe, which for anyone that knows that one, it's, first off, I'm sorry. Second, you know how bad that was. I've used that, and I honestly, there were fewer occasions where I was using that I thought, wow, I'm just completely wasting my time trying to use this. Git has actually made me feel like I'm wasting my time a lot. Okay. Anyway, uh, my piece has
moving
been
on
said.
from the airing of grievances.
To the squashing of company products.
Mm.
So, well, you've read through this more than I have, so I'll let you just summarize.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to talk about here. It's just that Sony Japan announced that it is cutting production of basically all its memory cards. So I mostly SD cards, but they also make like compact flash express cards as well. Um, Sony, my understanding is that Sony didn't have like a ton of memory cards left. Like that's a thing that has mostly been ceded to like SanDisk and Samsung and those companies. But
Okay, yes, no, and kind of maybe. So it's true that the majority of their business had pretty much gone away. However, they did still actually have a pretty loyal customer base for their so-called tough cards, which are pictured at the top of this article. Um, and they also did have they had a line of, I believe it was the CF Express Type A, I think, cards
mhm.
that went into the higher end Sony cameras. And those were it, you could obviously get those from other places, but Sony still valued that as a bit of a serious business. What's special about the tough cards? Uh, Believe it or not, literally the name says it all. They were actually just built with stronger materials, and they are more rigid. So, uh, put simply, if you were to take one of their tough cards and like try to just snap it or something, you probably couldn't. Um, they were basically, if I remember, I might have this wrong, but I think they were also technically not waterproof, but fairly water resistant. Whereas your typical SD card, if you dunk those in water, um, you won't destroy them as long as you dry them out. Uh, but if you try sticking them into a reader, you're gonna fry them. Um, so the tough cards were basically cards that weren't going to die as easy. So they were really popular with photographers that did uh, like photographers that would go out into the middle of like terrible conditions, and their camera might get destroyed, but they care about their memory card still being intact. And so yeah, the tough cards were popular for that. Um, Honestly, you'd be surprised. It's amazing how often cards like this are worth having. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's a common thing, but mountain climbers who actually take a camera with them and use memory cards, if once you take the card out of the camera and put it into any sort of storage container, pack, or anything like that, the odds of that pack falling hundreds of feet, you actually want a memory card that could survive an impact. Like I said, I believe that they did have some amount of water resistance above a normal SD card, and like that's a really big deal if you're out on the ocean or like river rafting situations, anything like that. Again, like your camera could get destroyed in this stuff, but what often is worth it is what's on the memory card. So yeah, these are scenarios where having a memory card that's built tough actually can matter, especially if you're getting footage or a photo that by itself might be worth thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. It happens.
Yeah, like my review pictures,
Yes.
they're priceless. My
That
pictures of a phone.
that's why you have them 6 times backed up on your NAS, every cloud service, and of course the most secure place of all, Android Police.
Hmm. Yep. Actually, I wonder what SD card I have in my camera. I don't know. I'm gonna assume
The
it's,
same one you've been using since the beginning.
yeah, my Sony Alpha, a little
No,
guy.
I meant the same memory card, but yeah,
Oh
same
no,
camera too.
no, I did. It was for a while,
I
but
know.
when I
Didn't you
did,
get one for a trip?
yeah, I was. I don't know if that was last year or the year before, but I went to the a Qualcomm press event. I was like, okay, I might need more storage just in case, because it was a very old like 16 gig card or something, which is still more than enough. But I was like, I mean, I could use a new card anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a SanDisk Extreme Plus, 128 gig.
I don't have my. Wait, do I? No,
Can't
I
lose
don't have
those
my
red
camera
bench picks. You're goddamn right.
Do I have my second memory card in here?
The red bench that is still at my mom's house, as far as I know.
Most likely. Seems like a safe bet. Let's see. I don't remember why, but this came up very briefly, and I had to kind of laugh about it. The question: have you ever cleaned your camera sensor?
No.
And it reminded me, but I believe that's because you never swap lenses, right?
No, I do. It's not
Oh,
often, but I do have the kit lens and then the lens that stays on it 99% of the time, which is the macro lens. But I'm not doing the actual switching of the lenses very often.
right. Okay. Yeah, I anyway, in the conversation, I was asked how many times I've done it. It's like, actually, I've done it probably a good handful of times.
Yeah.
It's now to the point that, like, cleaning my sensor, I don't even think about it. It's not something I'm nervous to do. It's just one of those things like, oh, okay, well, it's a little annoying to do, but it's as weird as this might sound, I actually feel more nervous doing dishes than I do cleaning my expensive camera sensor. Because cleaning the camera sensor is actually stupidly easy. It just makes you feel really scared the first, like, one or two times you do it. Anyway, not important, but so yeah, the reason Sony is shutting down its memory card business, um, uh, I just
Yeah.
read that I read this title and noticed the grammatical error in the title. Sony shuts down nearly its entire. Well, I guess it's not grammatically wrong. It's just grammatically awkward.
Just a little weird. But yeah, the only news here is that because memory shortages are a thing, they're ending production of like all their cards until the situation improves, and we don't know when that will be. So just no Sony cards for a while. So if you specifically want a Sony compact flash or SD card, get them now.
Yeah, well, good luck getting them at all. But and to be fair, there are other companies making this, so you really don't need to get these. It's just ideal in some instances. But so that's not the only thing that's been affected by weird pricing and availability,
From
and
Sony.
from Sony. And that leads us to the PlayStation 5, PS5 Pro, and PlayStation Portal, which are all going up in price. Oh boy. So and this is this, by the way, is news that takes effect tomorrow. So everything we're about to say, it's still going to be on the old prices for the next few hours. So if you want to do any buying, let me know. I need to put up affiliate links. And
I was about to say, make sure you use the link in the description.
yeah, honestly, I was thinking about this earlier, and it's like, damn, I need to go pre-make links, and then I forgot. So I will do that in a little while. But yeah,
I bought my PS5 just before the last price increase.
yeah, which the
and
first price
I did
increase
not
was only
use
$50, so at least that one wasn't too insane.
did not use your link. I used my Target 5% discount instead. Sorry.
Well, yeah, jerk.
Alyssa said the PS5 Pro is sold out at Amazon.
Well, in that
Too
case, I
late.
will not be providing links to the PS5 Pro. Actually,
Buy
I still
something
will,
else
but
though. Buy some games.
yes. So yeah, anyway, they have announced that due to basically component prices, um, which we all know is mostly RAM, though it very likely also probably includes SSDs. They are going to be raising the price of all PS5 consoles. The PS5 regular is going to be 650, well, rather 649.99. I'm going to be rounding up for these. And that is up from 550. So it's a $100 increase for the regular PS5. The PS5 digital edition is going to be going to $600, up from $500. So another $100 increase. And the PS5 Pro is rising to a pretty brutal $900, up from $750. So it's a $150 increase. Oh boy, that is a
Which,
lot of money.
what did the PS5 start at? Was it 500?
It was 700. Or the PS5.
Yeah,
Um,
the base one.
the base one, yes, was 500, and then it got the $50 price increase that you just
Yeah,
barely beat, and now it's getting the $100 increase um tomorrow.
yeah. The PS5 with the disc was 500. And is now 650. The digital version started at 400 and is now 600. That's crazy.
Wait, did the digital edition start at 400?
That's what this article I pulled up says, but I don't know if this source is reliable.
Um,
Um, Alyssa says 450. Started at 450.
I would have thought so.
PS5 price 2020.
Um,
PlayStation 5 launches this November at $400 for the digital edition
okay.
and 500 for PS5. This is from their 2020 press release.
That's insane that the digital edition has gone up that much.
I'll put this in the YouTube chat if anyone cares.
Um, so yeah, anyway, uh this is one of those things everyone kind of knew it was coming because Sony was the last company to have any sort of increase in price on its console in response to all the component prices going up. Obviously, Microsoft has already raised the Xbox price, I believe, twice or three times, something like that. It's gone up too many times to even take seriously anymore. Um, the Nintendo launched the Wii like in direct reaction to the price increase that they predicted coming. And I'm not sure that they even increased it as much as they think they or that they would have if they knew how bad it was going to get.
I
But
think you mean the Switch,
sorry, what did I say?
the Wii.
It's
I mean,
okay, yeah.
I'm always
That's
thinking
funny, but
about the Nintendo Wii though, so that's
yeah.
understandable. Great
Okay.
con-
And it's the Switch 2. So, yeah, the Switch 2 was, if for anyone who doesn't remember, that was announced and then they were like, we're going to announce prices later.
Mhm.
And then they just sort of waited and waited and waited and finally they were like, okay, yeah, we see this situation only getting worse. So, and that was kind of in response to tariffs, but uh I think they also foresaw probably some component availability issues. So the Switch 2 came out, and I bet they would, like I said, I bet they would have wanted their prices to be higher right from this if they knew how things were going to go. But they launched at the price that they did, and so far I think they're just eating it if that's not really as profitable as they want it to be, but so be it. And Sony, well, yeah, Sony obviously, like, they didn't really react to the price increases so much, uh, or availability issues, or tariffs. But here they are. This is the boost that we all kind of had to foresee. And yeah, so as a result, I'm gonna have a PS5 Pro. because truthfully, I don't think these prices are ever coming back down. Maybe they do.
Certainly not for years.
Right. Yeah. And that's the issue is I don't think that these prices are going to come back down for sure within the next year. Because I think availability is going to be swallowed up by data centers. Plain and simple. Like, data centers are going to be chewing up pretty much all the availability for SSDs and RAM. So availability just is not going to be a thing that improves. And I think the tariff situation really isn't going to get better either. So I mean, maybe it does, but no one's going to be dropping their prices back down just because tariffs change. So I think we're
Right, because that's what happens every time.
yeah. I think we're into a situation where for the remainder of the PS5 lifetime until there is a PS6, I think these prices are here to stay. Give or take, maybe I'm wrong. But I think they're here to stay. Or if they do drop, I don't think they drop back down to their original prices. I think they drop by 50 bucks. Maybe some things will drop to 100, like the original PS5 or something. But that's it. I don't think that we ever get back down to the prices that we're at now. So yeah, I figured this is the time to jump on it and just get it done, because otherwise it's going to cost more in the future. So yeah, and it's unsurprising, like the PS5 Pro became Amazon's top selling item in a matter of a few days, which I'm sure Sony, no matter what, they've got to be looking at this going, worst case scenario, we just sold more consoles than we could have asked for. Like this was the motivating factor. And I'm sure some of that is probably going to be people pre-investing. Just buy one now and hope that they can flip it for like a $50 or $100 profit. I'm sure there are other people who just were like on the fence and finally decided to go for it. And who knows, there are probably some other factors or explanations for some of the sales, but yeah, this is definitely going to be like one of those things that's reshaping the landscape for the consoles and what they're going to cost and what's basically going to happen. It's also very likely that we're not going to see a PS6 anytime soon. That's one of the rumors that's been circulating for months now. Both for Microsoft and for Sony, the rumors have basically said that they're looking at availability of components. They're looking at the tariff situation. They're looking at what these consoles are going to have to cost when they come out. And in pretty much every single scenario, they're all saying, you know what? Maybe we should just like push back our roadmaps. Let's just ride out the PS5 and Xbox Series S and X. Let's just ride these out like an extra year or two past where we were hoping to, because then maybe things will be better by then. Which,
yeah, I mean,
my read on that is I think by that they mean they're hoping that Trump is no longer in office, because that's a big part of what's actually costing them money.
yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like that was going to happen regardless of pricing. Just that, like the need for the newer and better console hardware is, been shrinking every generation. Like there's still games coming out for the last gen that launched in like 2013, 2014, I think was the Xbox One and PS4.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're still fine for a lot of games, not the cutting edge photorealistic games or the studios that just can't afford the resources to target that many discrete platforms, but like they're still fine. And so I expect this generation will be exactly the same, but probably with a even longer lifespan, because it's starting from a better position, right? Where like the PS4 and Xbox One did not have solid state drives as standard. Even on top of them being older, graphical hardware, obviously. So the current hardware is great. I think like even if the pricing squeeze didn't happen, there just wouldn't be that much demand for a new like there's people who are going to buy the new thing because it's a new thing, and maybe they have like a old PS4 or busted up PS5 or something that they'd like to replace anyway. But it's again, like I said in that article I wrote on the Spacebar a long time ago, it's just like they're just smartphones now. You just buy one when you feel like you need it, and that's about it. So I think it would be hard to convince anyone that they need it until they start using like generation exclusive games as a selling point to push people.
Yeah.
Which is starting to happen with the Switch 2. There's been more games coming out for that are not being backported to the Switch 1, so that's helping move people over.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it is a little crazy that they're that the price is going up so much, but at the same time, it's hard not to see it. And like I said, I just don't see the price coming back down. I think that's gonna be the sticky issue here.
Because that's what happens every time there's inflation.
Mm-hmm.
The McDonald's cheeseburger never went back to $1.
Yeah, right. Which actually, so funny enough, I was staying in a McDonald's just last night, and I found it really funny as I'm looking around at the board that they have. I didn't order anything, by the way, but I found it funny that as I was looking up at the board behind the counter, they have a bunch of stuff up there with calories listed, but nothing has price listed. And it's like, guys, if you're willing to show your calories and you're not willing to show your prices, that's scary. That's not something that doesn't feel good.
Also just showing calories in general. I don't need to see that.
They legally have to, I think.
Oh.
I could be wrong, but I swear there was some legislation a few years back that basically said like if you don't meet certain health guidelines, then you have to show your calories or something like that. I might be wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but I thought that was a thing.
That sounds like something governments would do when they don't know how anything works. Okay, so more price hike stuff. Yay! This one is especially silly. So,
yes.
The Raspberry Pi boards have gone up in price twice now. There was an increase in December for most models, and another increase in February for most models. Primarily the Raspberry Pi 4 and 5 and everything based on those. The Raspberry Pi 3 and older are using, I forget the type of memory. Oh yeah, they're using LPDDR2 RAM. So that is still cheap and plentiful. So those are fine. But sorry, my mouth is dry. Now what they've done is, I should say, I think it was either the December or February price hike, they introduced a lower memory model of the Raspberry Pi 4. I think it's 4 gigs, which there wasn't previously. That was one of the advantages of like, wow, they're finally making a Pi with base 8 gigs of RAM. We can't do that anymore. That's too expensive. So they made that. And today they announced a 3 gigabyte RAM Raspberry Pi 4. So not only does this have less memory in like a weird configuration, it's a Pi 4, not a Pi 5. So new configuration of their last gen, because this is the only thing that they can make kind of cheaply that is still like, decently powerful. It's either this or like a Raspberry Pi Zero, which I think it has a lower power SoC, but it has way fewer ports and IO. I have one. It's not good. Well, I have the original Pi Zero W, which is very old and slow and 32-bit only. And I tried to write like 2 articles about Raspberry Pis with it, and it was super slow. And I'm glad I didn't have to write any more of those articles. Um, so this new one, even though it is a weird RAM configuration and their previous generation of Pi boards, it is $83.75. Remember when the best and latest Raspberry Pis were like 40 and $50? Me neither. This is where we're at. And the other Pi models have another price increase. The Raspberry Pi 500, which is the one with the integrated keyboard that kind of works like a, the inspiration was clearly like a Commodore 64, like integrated computer thing, that had a price increase of $150. The final price is not 150. That's just the increase. I think it's like $420 now.
Oh no. It's the price of like a base model Dell desktop, or even maybe
Yeah.
a Dell laptop.
Yeah. So the Raspberry Pis, like in the last couple years, it was already getting to be not a good option for a lot of general computing stuff. Like the Pi boards are still excellent for their like customized software, like people making Linux distributions specifically for these computers. Or like if you had an embedded thing, they're still really good. But like if you wanted a little home server or a media, box to plug into a TV to run, Plex or Kodi or something off of, uh, or like a lightweight desktop or something, the like low end Intel NUCs have been a much better option for that in the last couple of years, and that's only increasing with this. Obviously, all of those computers are also going up in price now, but you still get like generally faster processing. You get normal like x86 chips, so you can run normal Windows if you want. A lot more flexibility. So it's disappointing that this keeps happening. But yeah, just Raspberry Pi is becoming increasingly not a good option for almost anything, which is annoying.
Yeah, man, I've always been interested in Raspberry Pi. I've wanted to make use of one for a while, for a few different reasons. Um, and yeah, at this stage, I'm kind of looking at it like, nope. If there's anything I need to do, I'd almost rather just like, honestly, like, why not just buy a baseline Mac Mini, a Mac Neo, or
Yeah.
MacBook Neo? Like, you're not going to spend
Well,
much more, and the amount of power you get out of it is astronomically higher.
I mean, let me see. If I go to Raspberry Pi, because they're also doing this annoying thing in the blog post, and I tried to link another article that had better pricing information, but I see I just pasted the same link twice in the
Yeah, I saw
documents.
that.
That's not helpful. But if I go to the Raspberry Pi website and I pick let's say the 8 gig RAM model in the US, how much does that cost now? If I go to Adafruit, that is $123. So obviously a Mac Mini would be several hundred more dollars. So I don't know if they're necessarily comparable, but like you can get some Intel NUCs too.
Well, I was talking about like a Pi 5, but
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah, like,
forgot to put that. Yeah, that's still a Pi 4. Let me see what the Pi 5s are doing.
um,
Raspberry Pi 5. which obviously, like, a Mac Mini is going to be hundreds of dollars more, but it's
Yeah.
also like many times faster and more.
Okay, so if you're looking at, let's just use a 16 gig for some level of comparability here. A Raspberry Pi 5 at 16 gig, you're looking at 200, well, let's round up. Let's just say 220 bucks. Okay. Obviously, yes, these are not actually comparable things. Unless what you're talking about is, do you want something that's going to sit as like we'll call it home server. Again, they're not that comparable. What went up by 150? Oh, the Pi 500 kit.
Yeah, the 500 unit and the kit, but
Right.
the Raspberry Pi 500 is the one with the integrated keyboard.
Okay. I was going to say, wait, I would have sworn, like, how does this go up 150 bucks? That's almost doubling the price. That makes sense. It's a full kit.
Well, I think the Pi 500 only has 16 gig memory capacity. I don't think it's lower, so that's why it's
Sure.
more.
Okay, but what is a Pi 500 plus kit retailing for? That's more what I'm trying to compare.
On Adafruit, it's 270, but it's out of stock.
Okay.
And then the base one is 260.
Okay.
Because the kit only adds a wall charger and book and mouse.
Okay. So, all right. So I kind of take back the Mac Mini comparison because I thought that at this point the Raspberry Pi, like the top kit, I kind of thought that was going to be even more egregious. But regardless, like it's hard to see a scenario where the cost effective, like a Raspberry Pi is your cost effective solution to do most things at this stage. It still makes sense in a few limited scenarios, but I would either try to scale down to something like an ESP32 if you can get away with that limited power, or yeah, I mean, go up to something bigger, and that way, you get so much more power out of it. Raspberry Pi, the various kit options just don't seem like very good cost-effective methods anymore.
Yeah, I know people use them for all sorts of different things. My perspective has always been more so using it as like a lightweight desktop or a server. And for both of those use cases, you can probably find a low-end Intel NUC for around the same price now. That's going to be better at those things.
Or get like a used M1 Mac Mini.
Yeah, I mean, the macOS is sometimes annoying to use as a server, but yeah, like if you can make it work, it's going to be a good value.
Or even get an old Intel Mac Mini.
Yeah, just old PC. Go dumpster diving. You'll find something with like a Core, a 6th Gen Core i7, and it's going to be fine.
It's going to be
go on eBay.
More power than what the Raspberry Pi any Raspberry Pi is turning out.
Do what I did. Go on eBay, look for the companies that buy up old supplies of Dell computers for schools that schools don't want anymore, and you get some of those. Return to the classics.
Or go with the sneaky route and try to find one of those YouTubers that loves to cover old hardware, and then they buy a bunch of junk that they then eventually try to resell or give away, and just ask them, hey, you still gonna use that? Somebody out there is absolutely gonna be like, oh yeah, no, I already got my content out of this, I'm fine.
Yeah, we're a few RAM price increases away from the Power Mac G3 behind me being a cost-effective server. Firing up Apache on Mac OS 9, we're going. We're gaming. My personal website's running on it.
Not far away from it. Um, so brutal, but sadly, eerily true.
The most the Power PC's time to shine once again. Most best hardware architecture. And speaking of Power Macs and their successor Mac Pros, the Mac Pro is dead.
Yes, the Mac Pro has ended its lifespan.
Yes, so Apple has discontinued the Mac Pro and it's not on the website anymore. And Apple said it does not plan to make a new Mac Pro. So it is gone now. And that was Apple's highest end professional machine for a while. It was, you know, going back to the first Power Macs in like the early 90s. I forget exactly when. I want to say like 93, 92, 93. And then that product line lasted until the Intel transition, obviously with a lot of crossover with all of Apple's, dozens of other product lines for a while when they were going kind of crazy with it. And then when the Intel transition happened, that became the Mac Pro and with the same chassis, and they just stuck Intel hardware in it. And they did a few more redesigns. We had the infamous trash can Mac Pro, which I still see on my local Craigslist quite often. No one can get rid of those. I don't want it. I have enough things that take up too much space. And then went from the trash can to the cheese grater Mac Pro, and that has continued to stick around. And it's gone now because it's not really needed, at least as far as Apple will not support much PCI expansion with Apple Silicon chips. So you've never been able to swap the GPU on an Apple Silicon Mac. They've never supported that, or using one as an external GPU even. Well, I think you can, but not in a graphics way. You can kind of offload some AI workload stuff to it, I think. But it's not for the same use cases that existed for the Mac Pro. So the Mac Pro just kind of turned into a thing that wasn't really needed, and Apple made the Mac Studio, which was much smaller and had basically the same capabilities. And even some tiers of the Mac Mini are kind of in that ballpark as well now. I'm not sure what you can spec a Mac Mini up to now, because I don't think it's the highest tier M chips, but it might be close. Yeah, you can stick an M4 Pro in it, which is their second tier of chips. Okay. So yeah, so it's gone because Apple is not super interested in supporting PCI expansion, and that was kind of the main thing left besides just being super powerful. But now a lot of their other Macs are super powerful. So,
well, and more crucially, they do have the Mac Studio. I mean, the Mac Studio was effectively their Mac Pro replacement. Just
kind of. Yeah, it just hasn't been updated in a hot minute. I'm not sure.
Well, it has an M4 Max.
Oh, okay. I forgot that.
Well,
I was thinking it was still
M2
or something.
You can either do an M3 Ultra or an M4 Max. So, which is kind of a weird combo, but if I remember, there was something about the M4 where supposedly they couldn't do an Ultra on the M4. Or at least that's part of the theory. So
well, they have an M5 Max now for the MacBook, so I imagine that's going to find its way to the studio shortly.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, strictly speaking, yeah, and who knows? They'll probably also have they'll probably also have an M5 Ultra at some point soon, or maybe they'll go to the M6, at which point they'll do the Ultra. Whatever. I suspect Ultra is not a dead chip line, I guess if you want to call it a line. Um, but it previously the Ultra only existed basically for the Mac Pro or for the Studio. With the Mac Pro gone, the Studio likely takes its place. I don't see this as a bad thing though. It's the Mac Pro
Because
didn't
the
didn't make
yeah,
sense.
yeah, just with the way Apple is going with their integrated designs. Maybe it would have been nice to have one with like just a lot of PCI cards, but the number of people using that for things that aren't GPU is pretty low, and a lot of those kinds of devices can be external too. So, you know, like I've used a lot of like networking hardware and sound hardware, and all of that's always been USB or Thunderbolt. I've
Yes, you can do that, and no denying that is a good option. I will say, however, one of the perks of having that case and some internal PCIe cards or yeah, well yeah, words coming out of my mouth, they're not functional. Um, it was situations where you needed to expand some specific thing in number or capability, or just basically having it all encased in the case. So a lot of the places where people were using it was to either add more network ports. So, the Studio and the Mini, I believe both, well, I know the Studio has an option for, or just defaults to 10 gigabit per second Ethernet, but it's only one port. The Mini has either a gigabit or 10 gigabit port. You can pay to upgrade to the 10 gigabit port. But what if you needed, say, 4 10 gigabit ports for some reason? This is a thing. It doesn't happen a lot, but if you need to use the computer as like a high power workstation, if you need to use it as, this is a ridiculous over expenditure, but if you needed to use your Mac Pro as a NAS, you could do that. If you needed to use it for an assortment of other things, you might want to do that. Likewise, if you're having it do
Well,
video capture,
Cody, the price of a Raspberry Pi might exceed to the point where a Mac Pro NAS becomes a reasonable alternative.
yeah, you never know. But let's say that you're doing video capture. You're right. You could do, obviously, a bunch of video capture cards all just hanging off of USB ports. But at a certain point, you might be maxing out your lanes on the USB or Thunderbolt bus. And you might not want a bunch of those all hanging off the back of your computer. You might actually want them inside the case, just to keep things neat and clean, or for whatever other reasons. So yeah, there are a lot of internal cards for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have that on the internal summer, because that was obviously the big complaint with the trash can Mac Pro, is that's when they went all the way like, you will use Thunderbolt as much as possible, and not everyone was thrilled about that.
No, that okay, you're right. That was the first big complaint. That was before all the other big complaints. Right. Like, hey, those video cards are literally burning themselves out like 6 months after we got this thing. That doesn't seem good. Or, hey, the chips are burning themselves out like a year after we got this thing. That doesn't seem good. And then okay, and we still can't upgrade this thing. Oh, we also can't replace the video cards. Oh, we can't do these. There was a lot of things that made the trash can Mac Pro a failure. But yes, it did start with wait, you're saying we can't install PCIe stuff? Like, why? So yeah.
Yeah. So rest in peace, Mac Pro. I have your great great grandfather over here. It plays old games somewhat well. So I was about to say well, but I did try to run Quake 3 on it, and it wasn't particularly happy about that. Because it has a not good GPU even for when it was new, I think. I'm not sure. It doesn't like Quake 3, but I have played some SimCity on it. It's pretty good.
Um, yeah. So I don't know. I in a way I don't really miss that the Mac. I was never gonna buy a Mac Pro really, or probably not, unless all of a sudden my YouTube career went astronomically high. But um,
Yeah, you gotta have one to flex. I think
exactly.
that had to be a like non-zero amount of the people left buying Mac Pros for the last few years was just like
I
I
like that you say
I could
non-zero.
show.
I would almost bet more Mac Pros were the Flex purchase than they were the actual like
Yeah.
for their capabilities. Um
Flexing
because
with the wheels. I gotta get the wheels covered.
yeah, the $400 wheels.
Yeah.
Um oh hey, with component cost increases, those might be $500 now. Um
Ooh, how much RAM is in the wheels?
yeah. And knowing Apple, there actually might be some. But uh
Now, now the real question is, the Mac Pro may be gone, but could the Xserve come back?
it can always come back. Oh boy. Um, but anyway, yeah, I don't see the Mac Pro as being that big of a loss. Truthfully, it it was a neat thing. Like again, it is a good flex. Um, but I don't think anyone was really getting that much use out of it anymore. The power was it never really properly balanced at a certain point. Um, in the Intel days, it kind of made sense because you could configure them in pretty widely varied packaging. Since they moved to Apple Silicon, you really don't get as many options. Like you could configure RAM, but your options were definitely not as varied as they were with the Intel models, and their usefulness.
And
Huh?
yeah, and the other Macs are just really good now.
Yeah,
Like you can
and
get what power you used to have a Mac Pro for is in the Mac Mini.
right, and also the chip builds didn't make as much sense because back in the Intel days, you'd have a few cores per chip, but they were all what we would refer to today as performance cores. Once they moved to the M series chips, they had performance and efficiency cores, and it's like, why are you putting efficiency cores in the Mac Pro? Like, what's even the point of this? Um, and technically, they did kind of move away from putting efficiency cores in every chip. Or rather, they got rid of efficiency cores, but they kind of just renamed them. They were no longer quote unquote efficiency cores. They became, I forget what they were called, but they basically had the high power cores, medium power cores, and then the efficiency cores were supposed to be the low power cores, but they just stopped having those. And no chip ever had more than two kinds, so it never made a difference. Anyway, that's a marketing distinction more than anything. But yeah, it never made sense. Why even have a low power chip in a Mac Pro? Like, what is that even doing? So these are products that just should be it needed to be thought through and adjusted for their purposes and functions. And who knows? Maybe with the Mac Studio that might actually happen. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, rest in peace.
Indeed. So let's see. I believe that is, correct me if I'm wrong, the end of our topic list. I did have, from a couple of weeks ago, there was that MacBook Neo stuff. Do you care about talking about? Do you care about talking about that anymore? Or just ignore that.
No,
I don't
not
think
really.
there's. Yeah, I didn't think it was too interesting to begin with, so I think we could just drop those.
I had for anyone wondering what they're missing out on, it was just stuff about how repairable the MacBook Neo is, but everyone's seen that. And
Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty much old news. Um, let's see. So there was also we're not going to talk about this today just because we've already kind of had a lot of topics and
I had to grab something, but I'll keep listening.
okay. We're not super long into this stream, but I think we are probably kind of, we're to the point where if we go down a very long road topic, I think it would be too long of a topic for the amount of time that we still want to spend on this. But Carson did bring up that thing in Stadia about the Stadia team including bogus stuff to try to trick teardown writers. I have a lot to say on this. There's like stories to tell and details, and honestly that's gonna run really long. So I don't think I have enough time left on my voice. For some reason my voice has just been really, or my throat has been just really ragged this last week. So yeah, I don't think I have enough in me to cover that one tonight. But I promise I will talk about this one, because yeah, this deserves some telling. And there's a little bit of salt to throw on this one. There's a little bit of dirty stuff in the past to retell. So we will get to it. That will have some like I said, stories. Also, really quick, I did say this in Discord, but Carson again happened to share just earlier today that thing about the thing that happened in the UK where some family had supposedly all of their Google accounts banned because their 14-year-old son decided to let's just say expose himself and take care of himself in front of a Gemini Live scene with a camera. And so it auto banned them, recognizing that this was an underage user who was it constitutes CSAM, and therefore it reacted. I'm not really going to I'm not going to go too far down the road of discussing like the actual implications of that story. My loose summary is I think all they really need to do, and I've said this so many times about so many other things, there's an easy answer to almost everything. If you're hitting a roadblock with Google, if you're hitting walls where you cannot seem to get through to an actual person or can't get a proper response, there's a 100% proven tactic. This is known to work, and no one seems to be willing to do this. Hire a lawyer to send a lawsuit and put in the lawsuit very clearly, if you unban accounts or if you do this basic remediation thing, we will drop the lawsuit. Here's the thing. A real lawyer at Google, or at least someone that Google is employing or contracting through, will see that. They will read it and go, oh, this is a tech support issue. Okay. They'll call because they definitely have the phone numbers that they need to get in touch with real people, they will call them and say, yeah, okay, sure, we get it. And maybe in this case, I'm sure they actually would have to investigate it. They'd have to deal with it. um, Someone would probably have to, as unpleasant and kind of creepy as this sounds, someone will have to review the video and recognize, oh yeah, this is the thing. Um, but yeah, if you can tell that this is obviously like some kid doing something stupid and not an intentional act of maliciousness, or worse, then they will obviously unban the accounts. They will correct it. They might they might punish the accounts in some way, but I'm just saying, like, that is a surefire way to get through to Google. Sue them. I'm not kidding. It's dumb. It sounds over the top, but if the deal is always you can, if you basically say we will drop the account if you fix this, or sorry, not drop the account, if you drop the lawsuit, they'll do it. It's there are developers who've gotten banned and they've gone through just miles and miles of fighting over stuff, and it's like, you're an idiot. Hire a freaking lawyer, file a lawsuit, watch your stuff get solved within a week. You're dumb if you aren't doing that. Anyway, that rant over. What I actually wanted to say is, and I said this in Discord, 1000%, this is the reason I do not let Google hold on to my passkeys. It's the reason why I was kind of against passkeys when they were first introduced. It's also why I don't let Google store my passwords, or at least not most of them. There are a few that I don't care. But in any scenario where Google also Google is a single sign-on provider, any of these things, don't do it. If Google has any reason to ban your account, even if it's over the dumbest, smallest reasons, or an accident, because that has been known to happen. Total irrelevant accidents do sometimes come up. If it's anything like that and your account gets banned, you're then locked out of various other things. Sometimes you can get by with, like, forgot your password, or, like some other corrective measure. But chances are the method that they have for correcting that is to send to your email address, which, guess what, is probably Gmail. So I'm sorry, but you are so effed if you are trusting your stuff to your Google account and anything happens to it. So I'm just saying, I'm pleading with people. Keep your passkeys in an actual password manager. Do not use Google's sign-on. Or, for that matter, by the way, same goes with Apple, same goes with Facebook, same goes with any of the other things that offer single sign-on. I love the idea of them. I do. I really love the idea of them. I think they are, technologically, they are so much better of a strategy than almost anything else. But, every single one of them is tied to a service that might ban your account. And that's the problem. Every single one of them is tied to services that can ban your account. That is 100,000% a reason you should never, ever put every bit of anything into any one of them. Okay, rant done.
I have an unrelated rant about Gemini Live,
Ooh,
though.
I approve. Go for it.
I'm not done with the child was accused of doing, but when I was trying to use Gemini Live, I've not really used like Gemini on Android at all until I got the Galaxy XR. And so I was playing with it to try to get it to like identify stuff, either like when I'm playing a VR game and I want to see if it can identify something, or I was just walking around my apartment and doing the thing that like the Google I/O demos did, where I'm just, walking around and pointing to something like, what's this? And I have never felt so patronized to in my life than using Gemini, where like I have a Lego set of the International Space Station over there, and I pointed to it and I was like, what's this? And it was like, "Oh, that's a Lego set of the International Space Station." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." And then it was like, I was like, "Oh, did you build that yourself? Did you? Was that fun to build?" And then I looked at something else, and it was like, I don't remember what I pointed to, but I think it was like a some kind of figure or something. It was like, and it said what it was, and then it was like, "That's really cool. Do you have anything else?" And it's like, I feel like I'm like a toddler, and like the teacher is trying to keep me interested and not, you know, trying to get me to not cry at school. It's just very bizarre. And I already had the custom instructions in Gemini to do like very brief answers. Like, don't do the back and forth or like extra things, just give me the answer. I already had that from using Gemini on the computer for quick code questions. But I don't know if that applies to Gemini Live or if it did and it just didn't care. And it wanted to ask follow-up questions constantly, and it's very bizarre. Makes me not want to ever use that ever again. Also, because it just got other things very wrong. But mostly the like making me feel weird and uncomfortable. It's like I would prefer I would like Google Lens back. Google Lens didn't ask weird follow-up questions when I was trying to search something.
Give it time.
Yeah, no, it's
Um, yeah, there's, uh, I don't know. I don't, I
it's
ha
really weird that that's just not a switch somewhere of like, please just give me the answer and do not try to continue this conversation.
Yeah, I've never liked anything that does that. All of those things always feel really creepy to me. Um,
Yeah. And like a lot of the chatbots do that too. Like, you know, Gemini in the chat did that. That's why I had that extra command thing and Copilot and stuff. But like that extra sentence is easier to ignore in a text, you know, context. But when it's like the Gemini Live thing or it's like a voice interaction, that's like a blocking behavior. Like I gave you a command, please complete the command and then let me get back to what I was doing. Same thing
mhm.
with like Siri, if it like needs help with something, like I can just tell Siri, yeah, Siri's really dumb, but I like the this previous generation of voice assistants where I could just be like, okay, set a timer, and then Siri's like, okay, I set the timer, and that's it. That's the end of the interaction. I can move on. But when it's, you know, Gemini Live being like, "Oh, did you build that Lego set yourself?" It's like I have to wait for it to be done or like interrupt it to get it to stop talking. It's just very bizarre. I don't know why we've built these things this way, unless Google just wants. If somewhere this counts for like more tokens, and Google can say it's increased AI usage or something, maybe. But I think it's just how they designed it for some reason.
Very likely, which sucks. And who knows? Maybe that was one of their sort of demo things that slipped into real production. And by that I mean, um, they built it for the demo and thought, oh, we'll leave this in for a little bit, but then switch over to something a little bit more proper once people have had a chance to play with this. Or we'll build in a thing to detect if this is for kids and progressively like try to migrate out of that. But yeah, I don't think that they handled it or knew what they were necessarily getting themselves into with that.
Yeah. So they gave me the ick, and that's why I've not really used it since then.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um so let's see. Do we have any other remaining rants? Uh
No, just
um
that I'm unemployed for the next half week between jobs.
well, yes. On a technicality.
Yeah.
Um and Carson saying, okay, about this was about the passkeys thing. In the event your account gets banned, Chrome locally should still work to access passwords, you would think. Um I have heard that said. I think for certain things it does. That obviously doesn't apply at all to single sign-on stuff because that's happening on Google servers. The passkeys thing I think does still work as long as everything is synced. But syncing does have some weird behaviors once the account is shut off. Certain stuff just stays on your device indefinitely. I know this. I know this because I actually still have access to some stuff from when I was on Valnet on my phone because or my my Valnet email address. Because yeah, it was still just hooked up. Obviously I don't get any new email, but yeah, I still have all the old emails sitting there. And there's a few other things that are just left behind because they just basically kind of drop the axe and just close off the pipe to that stuff, but they don't automatically get rid of the old stuff, which is kind of funny and seems like a thing they should fix. Like that seems like a security or intellectual property issue that Google would have probably fixed at some point, but for whatever reason they haven't. So either that or maybe a low-paid employee at a certain company just doesn't understand that they could have done something about it. These are all possibilities. But yeah, you might still have your passwords, but I would not bank on that. It's certainly not a reliable thing, in my opinion. Let's see. I think that about covers it. Also, I know that there's probably been some stuff said in the tech chat room that I'm not caught up on. I will be trying to get caught up very shortly. It's just been a busy couple of weeks, and so I will see what I can do about getting a lot more caught up very soon. Anyway, so I don't know, Corbin, do you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Then let's go. Oh,
yes. New Tech Tales episode. Tech Tales is back. Not with you though. I didn't have you on this one, but
you haven't had me in a couple years.
Yeah, it's been a while. But this one was a discussion about Tron Ares, and I already didn't want to talk about Jared Leto for that much, and I that probably wasn't a good idea for you either.
Yeah. Well, I've never been a huge Tron fan. I've wanted to be, but I've tried. It's not happening.
That's fine. That's okay. Not everyone can have such exquisite taste. Although now it's suffering because now I know this was the only Tron I'm going to get for probably the next decade at least until they dig it back out of the IP closet. So not a great time, but that's okay. And I will put the YouTube channel in the YouTube chat. You can watch it on the YouTubes, the same place that this place is. Funny enough.
The same place, but not the same place.
Yes. Same place, different room.
Yeah, so go give that a listen if you are Tron coded. Also, I suppose
Or just want to hear me complaining about Jared Leto. Either of those.
Honestly, it's pretty good strategy too. Who'd you have on with you for that one?
Zach and Joe.
Okay.
Because we both did the other two Trons, so it was the epic conclusion.
You're just hoping that's the conclusion of Tron.
I'm hoping it's not. I would like there to be more movies, just not with Jared Leto.
Well, you'd like them to be good movies, and yes. Much like Star Trek, it seems like these are things they're unwilling to do. All right. Anyway, sorry, you've complained about a lot of Trek. Okay, so anyway, also a quick follow up. As it turns out, the page on my website actually already had a link to the PS5 Pro. Um, but in about 5 to 10 minutes after this stream is over, I'm going to update it with some links to the regular PS5, the digital edition, and the disc drive in case anyone wants to grab those. Um, you don't have to wait. Obviously, you can just click the PS5 Pro link, but these give a slightly higher affiliate, which I appreciate. Anyway, like I said, that'll take just about like 5 or 10 minutes after the stream's over. Anyway, as always, thanks to everyone for coming by, hanging out, and being part of the conversation. Um, as always, I'll be back this weekend with some uh, Overwatch, maybe some other stuff too. We'll see. The PS5 Pro should be arriving on Friday, so I will very likely be setting it up on Saturday. Um, let's see. Oh, as always, if you'd like to support the channel, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. Believe me, any little bit helps. And of course, huge thanks to supporters of the channel: David, Diablo, Carson, Austin, and Alyssa. Y'all are awesome human beings. Of course, thanks to Corbin for being here. Also, awesome human being. Um,
Many are
and
saying this.
huh?
Many are saying this.
It has been said. The rumors are there. Um, all right. So with that, I think that about wraps it up. So, I hope everyone has an excellent rest of their week and a good weekend to come. And I'll see you all in the next one. Good night, everybody.
Bye.